Welcome to the Sober and Wellness Podcast. If you're a businesswoman seeking to elevate your life and unlock your full potential, you are in the right place. I am your host, Abigail Padro, and I am passionate about helping you achieve your next level. We will dive into honest conversation about sobriety, how faith can be a powerful anchor. My goal is to empower you to become the best version of yourself and excel in business, relationship, and beyond. Let's embark in this journey together, and I will provide you the tools and inspiration you need to live an alcohol-free life.
Welcome to the Sober and Wellness Podcast. I am Abigail Padro, your host. And today I'm very, very excited, like I'm always excited with everybody that comes to my podcast, to have Melanie here. Melanie Reyes. She is a friend, and I'm so excited that she's going to be sharing with her journey into sobriety. Welcome, Melanie. How are you?
So excited. I'm good. I am so excited to be doing this. A little nervous. It's a topic that I'm still learning about and learning about myself and just the journey in itself. But I'm excited to be here.
I know for a lot of us, it is something to be proud of, to share
Very
your
much.
story, especially to everybody out there that is willing to, of course, hear this podcast and this episode. This will mark my 8th episode. So
Congrats.
thank
That's
you.
amazing.
I'm amazed. But what makes me happy is people like you sharing their story into sobriety and what unlocks when you actually get into this journey. So let's just dive in. Are we ready? Yes. So tell me, what made you start in this journey?
So my story with sobriety is a little different because I actually started with emotional sobriety. And I am actually on my 8th month into my emotional sobriety. Most people don't know, but there is, just like there's Alcoholic Anonymous, there's also Codependent Anonymous.
Wow.
And so I noticed that I was, for a very long time, in a very toxic relationship. And we had broken up, I kid you not, more than 25 times, literally. On and off. And I noticed that we would be together for 2 weeks, break up for a month. Back together for 2 weeks, break up for a month. And it was such a toxic pattern for a few years. And I know that I remember sharing earlier, and you were like, what? And I'm like, I know. I never shared him on social media. There was a lot of shame behind that relationship. And finally, I want to say August of last year, I decided that I needed to do something about it. Like I said, I was ashamed of this relationship. I knew I should have never dated him, but I got caught up, like most people. He was a rebound. A year after my divorce, I was very much just in hopes that my marriage would somehow be restored. And then when I finally had, I don't know if it was a closure, but some sort of closure that it wouldn't be, instead of taking time to just be alone, I met this person and got caught up. And because I didn't take that time, I just kept going back and forth for a very long time. And then came August of last year, situation happened in our family. And I remember thinking to myself, this is not the life I want for my legacy. Part of it had to do with the news that I was going to be a grandmother. And so I'm like, there's an opportunity for my family legacy to change. I no longer want, I want to give my grandson, he's a boy now, but at the time I didn't know what it was going to be. But I was like, I remember thinking, I want to give my grandbaby a different outlook in life and a healthy family. And maybe I wasn't healthy for the many years, and maybe I wasn't healthy for my kids, but we could change something.
Of course.
And that was what got me into my emotional sobriety and codependency and all of that. But what happened was that, leading up to the holidays, as I was getting well and getting a lot of knowledge and dealing with my codependency, that led me to more and more alcohol. And so while I was in this relationship for the years on and off that I was with this person, I noticed that I had to drink to be around him. I noticed that, mind you, I was never a drinker. So like I would drink a glass of wine here and there, but far and few, But when I was in this relationship for, so many years on and off, I noticed that to manage my anxiety, I needed alcohol. To manage just everything, even the criticism, and I just felt it, everything, I just went to the alcohol. And so when I was dealing with my codependency, I noticed that I was trying to escape a lot of feelings with alcohol. But what started happening is that the more I drank, the like when I was sober, I wouldn't call him, I wouldn't nothing. It was always when I was drinking.
Of course, right.
And I found myself every single time I had a big mess up, especially in those moments that I was really ashamed of, that had to do with sex, that had to do with those calls that you don't want to make, and the next day you're like, why did I call him? You know, things like that. The common denominator was alcohol. And so sometime in December of 2024, I told myself, you know what, I'm just going to do a dry January. That's it. But it was more, if I'm brutally honest, it was more I was thinking of a mind, body, spirit experience, right? Like more like just to start the year right. It wasn't necessarily, I'm never going to drink again. It was none of that. However, New Year's Eve of this year, this past New Year's Eve, I should say, I had an experience, and it was one of those things where once again, the walk of shame the next morning. And then it was like, you know what? I know I said dry January, but something has to change. I had to admit that I had a greater problem, more than my codependency, that I was now using. I was being codependent on alcohol. Till this day, I don't think I'm an alcoholic. That sounds weird to say, because I don't know. I don't get the withdrawals. I don't get this. I don't know the science behind it a lot. For me, codependency was a greater issue than the alcohol, but I became dependent on the alcohol. So that's why I said my experience is so different. But I still needed alcohol in order for me to numb my feelings.
Yes.
Regardless.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I decided to truly face myself, because I couldn't face myself if I didn't let go of alcohol. So now I'm at 142 days.
Yay.
Literally a week away from 5 months. And it's been a journey. Feel like you said something earlier and I resonated with it so much. I'm literally getting to know myself all over. I've had to take so much inventory of my life in every sense of the word. I mean, so much inventory. And on top of all of that, I had to figure out what is okay to let go of, as simple as hobbies, and get new ones that are going to support my new journey.
Definitely. I think that's one of the hardest things when you are at the beginning of the journey. And one thing that I was telling her a little bit ago is sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit. You said like only. That word is not allowed here. Okay. There's no, even your first day is not only, because we all start with baby steps. It's one day at a time, one step at a time. And I think almost 5 months, that's amazing. Yeah. I mean, that's a long time. Some people cannot stop for 24 hours. So it's interesting that we do get to know really who we are, because as we get older, we start changing. Every decade, I feel like I've changed. Yes. I was, you're a kid, then you're a teenager, then you're a young adult, then you're in your 30s, right? And now I'm starting a new decade, which I just turned 40. Don't tell anybody, guys. We're embracing.
That's right.
And nobody else tells me otherwise. But with that said, I know this is a new journey, and I am a different person, like I was telling you, from 509 days ago. And for me to sit here and say this, it's just a testimony of what you're able to do when you decide just to take alcohol away. Also, I didn't know about that you're talking about emotional, what's it called?
Emotional sobriety.
Emotional sobriety. I don't even, and if you can give me some stuff so I can put it in the show notes for anyone that interested in that. But I think it's really, really interesting, because I truly believe that is one of the number one things that a lot of us suffer with. I think I also have that. I just never really put it into perspective. But you can definitely see you were codependent for something, but then we start with the alcohol. And alcohol creeps in little by little.
I became codependent on alcohol because what alcohol did was I removed the person, right, that I needed to remove out of my life, or tried at least. And I replaced it with alcohol. Like the intensity, the drinking, the getting home, not wanting to be alone. So what I would do is get on my computer and work with 2 glasses of whiskey, or, like it was like, and then I would get drunk, go to sleep drunk, to wake up with a hangover.
Oh boy.
To have to go to the gym. Imagine going to the gym hungover.
Oh, I've done that
to go to the gym in the morning. To then go to work to be like, all right, get it together. And mind you,
Wow.
I mean, we've been friends for years.
Mhm.
We've been following each other for years. I'm sure you didn't know that part of the story. Hit it very well.
Yes.
Very well. I mean,
Actually, you touched on something. So I didn't have a clue that I've known her for over a decade, which is a long time. How we came to do all of this is because, we just had this big holiday, right? The tequila day. I call it a tequila day, which is Cinco de Mayo. And if you guys follow me on Instagram, on the 6th, I put Seis de Mayo, and I was celebrating that I woke up without a hangover, that I was good. And that's where she actually reached out and said that you were 4 months. And I was like, oh my God, that's so amazing. But I didn't have no clue.
Yep. So, and it's funny because Cinco de Mayo last year was a big party. It was actually a friend's birthday party. And it turned out to be terrible at the end of the night. Won't get into details, but I remember, this year, literally right before seeing your post, I remember thinking to myself, wow, I missed the Cinco de Mayo celebration because if you guys know me, I'm a taco lover. Everybody knows me for the taco lover. But I'm like, I don't miss the partying, like I miss the celebration itself. You take every opportunity, especially as Hispanics. And I think that's also some of the reasons why most people want to stop drinking, because everything revolves around alcohol, right? And it's like, how do you celebrate Cinco de Mayo without the margarita?
Or the tequila shots.
Or the tequila shots, right? And stuff like that. So it's like, forget it. Like, again, the pity party. Life is going to change. Life changes. And I remember when I saw your post, I was like, somebody else celebrated it. Because in my mind, I did. Shortly before I saw your post, and then you posted it, and I remember telling you, I don't remember what it was, but I had to reach out because I'm like, somebody else gets it.
Yes. And I really was happy because I live right by Rocco's Tacos. That's a very, it's a Mexican American restaurant. Yeah. And they actually closed the whole parking lot. I've celebrated there many times. And the thing is that in order for me to go to my house, I had to pass. The line was all the way, I will say like a quarter of a mile of just people wanting to celebrate. And when I mean celebrate, everybody goes there to get wasted. And I was just driving. I was like, okay, I'm going home. I hope these people be safe. They had cops and they had everything. So for a minute, you're like, man, I used to celebrate there. And you have to say goodbye and miss and mourn your older drinking self, because it happens. You will go through those stages. But the next day is like, I betcha half of the people are right now hating their guts because I know what it is to wake up the next day. And something that you said, it's going to the gym. Listen, I have one time I had a personal trainer, and I used to go with another friend of mine. And the night before, I went into a bender. Forget it. I had so many drinks. But when I give my word to do something, I'm gonna go.
Same.
And I was hangover to the oh my God, to the max. Listen, I did my workout. I don't know how. It was the worst thing ever. But when I got home, I was so sick. And for the first time, I had this pain in my stomach. I think I overdid it, that I thought I was going to die, like seriously. And I'm like, Abigail, don't say that you're never going to drink again, because how many of us says, I'm never going to drink again after a hangover?
Yeah, I tried that many times, many times. I tried quitting a good 6 times that I would, and I would say day 3 or 4. And then came the weekend or came an invitation. I just wasn't strong enough.
Yeah.
But I wasn't also submitting it to the Lord. And we can't do anything on our strength. Let's be honest.
I agree.
I don't know if, your followers are both Christians and non-Christians or whatever, but for those that are believers, for those that are wanting to quit, and if you're a believer, instead of trying to do it on your own strength, surrender it to the Lord. And that looks very different than just trying to do it in your own strength.
Yeah, it's, God, sometimes I feel like we put God in a little box, right? And with this condemnation, and we want to fix ourselves before going to the Lord. And I always think like God has to be up there, like, oh my God, these people don't get the point. I can't do it with you.
Right.
You don't have to do it alone. And I mean, I think everybody knows here that my faith, I believe in Jesus Christ and that he died for us. And I truly believe that what he did 2,000 years ago when he was on earth, he still can right now.
That's right.
And you don't have to carry, because this is a burden, guys. When we get this into drinking, it becomes a habit. and that habit becomes part of your life. And to break habits, whichever it is tough.
It is.
But we don't have to do it alone. I always say surrender it to the Lord. That I love that 100%. So, all right. So then let's go back to, you started drinking at your alone, just working. You would drink alone.
That was my escape. Because I was trying to get out of this relationship, right? And so going home alone. At the time, I was an empty nester. Kyla was going to college in Tampa. I lived by myself for 2 years. And in these 2 years, I'm also in this, very toxic relationship, breakups, back and forth, all the things. The way to escape was, let me work 60 hours a week, drink while I'm working at home in the evening, having my 1 or 2 cocktails, enough for me to not have to think, where I can just shut my laptop down at 9:30. Because if you guys know me, habits, focus girl. I sleep at the same time. I wake up at the same time. I go to the gym at the same time, hungover or not, because I'm a woman of my word, right? That's how I live. But that doesn't mean that it's healthy.
Right.
Doesn't mean it's healthy, but that's who I was. So for those 2 years while I'm empty nested, here I am, working away, drinking my life away, using, we think that, oh, it's just 1 glass of wine a night. For me, it started off with just a glass of wine. And from a glass of wine, it went to tequila, and from tequila to whiskey.
Which does an upgrade, right? And the amount of alcohol, yeah.
Definitely. I remember one time, thinking of whiskey, I remember I met up 2 girlfriends at a Mexican restaurant, and we were supposed to meet for lunch, but the bochincha was so good, the gossip, stayed 7 hours. And in those 7 hours, I had, I believe, 7 old fashions.
Wow. And old fashioned, probably everybody here knows what an old fashioned, but old fashioned is just
strong.
It's straight alcohol.
And I thought, I remember a couple of days after, I was telling a friend of mine about it, and it was funny, right? At the moment, it was funny. But deep down, I was like, I've become dependent, and my body has gotten used to alcohol, because now the tolerance, not dependent, the tolerance, it's now a lot. Like I can literally tolerate. That is scary.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? Do you think you would stay 7 hours if you were not drinking those 7? No. That's my point. I don't think nobody will do that.
Not at all. We talked earlier offline how much alcohol revolves around our social life. And in full transparency, I'm learning that now. I'm barely my 4th month, I am in my 4th month, going on my 5th month. And I'm still trying to figure out, I still find myself saying no to a lot of things because I don't think I'm strong enough.
Okay.
This is literally,
that's valid.
My personal pastime, per se, is going to a place and watch a live band. I love cover bands.
That's nice.
That's something I used to do for 4 years, almost every weekend, almost every Friday. We would go to dinner, go watch a live band, have some cocktails, go home and go to sleep. Next morning to wake up, to go on the boat.
Sounds fun.
To go on the beach, to do this, to do that. But all of that revolved around alcohol.
Because you can still do all those things.
Right.
Just taking
you can still do it. So it's been actually exactly 4 months. The last time I went to watch a live band was the 2nd week of January. I went to support a friend who's a promoter, and he was bringing a band that I really liked. And I remember going, and I was literally 10 days into sobriety. And I remember saying, okay, I'm going to go because I want to support him, and I like this band. And I gave him my word. Again, that's me, so I'm going to go. So I go. I remember going to the bar, and I'm like, do you do like some sort of mocktail? She's like, I mean, I can try to make it. I was like, okay, like a Moscow Mule, but no alcohol. So literally I just stood there for almost an hour, watched the band for an hour. The moment they went on break, I said, hey, I'm going to go. I'm tired. I had just flown in from a business trip. And he said, thank you so much for coming. And I left. And I remember telling myself, why did you put yourself in that position? It was to support a friend.
Yeah.
But I knew that what I really wanted was to drink. And what I really wanted was to have the fun, but that's what I was telling myself.
Yes.
But looking back now, those are lies, because we can have fun without the alcohol.
Yes.
We just tell ourselves we can't. Now, personally speaking, I won't go watch a live band at a bar just yet. Right. I don't think I'm strong enough. I am single. And I like going, I do monthly solo dates. I enjoy going out by myself. it's taken, that was part of my therapy journey with, with my therapist. Breaking out the codependency was doing solo dates. For 6 months I did solo dates every week. And out of all that experience, one of them that I really enjoyed was watching the bands by myself. I want to get there. However, what happens in these places is a lot of people see you alone, they be like, oh, here, they get you a drink and stuff like that. And I don't want to turn people down, and I don't want to have to explain myself. And
Yes.
so, I'm still there, but I still go out boating. I
Mhm.
still go to the beach with my friends, and I'm still having just as much fun. I
Yeah.
had to stop that lie, because it is truly a lie that you can't have fun without alcohol.
And you said something, even when you're saying it, you said something yet.
Yet.
And that's where we need to focus, because it is okay to go. It's a process.
It is.
You you have to rewire your brain
Mhm.
and reframe your thoughts and say, you know what? Yes, I'm not going there yet, but I will. And you will, because for example, for me, I don't have that much that story. I can be with a lot of friends. I did it, and that was not a trigger for me. But I know for a lot of people that I've heard on this community, they do. And that is okay, because you know what? You still in that what if, or how do I make this new life possible? But the more that you go away from your last drink, the stronger you get.
Yes.
And it's like, your brain's like a muscle. The more you work it out, and the more resilient, and the more you start going little by little to these places, and you leave, and then you find joy. Because that's the thing, you find the glimmers. They're going to start. Actually, after my 4 month is when I started seeing things in a lighter way. Like, for example, I started doing rollerblades. I did adult coloring. I did paint by numbers. I was so busy trying to do something for fun because I was bored. I could go to certain get-togethers, but I didn't do it often because you're not drinking. So what do? All my friends are drunk. There comes a point that I want to leave.
Yes.
Because I don't want to deal with the flirting.
And you don't want to mess up their night.
You don't.
Because they're like, really? But you're not going to drink? Like, they almost put all the spotlight on you. And you're like, it's okay. Like, I don't need to have alcohol. So a lot of my group has changed. My friend group has changed. Not my immediate friend group, thank God. I feel like we all in that season, they're not intentionally, trying to stay sober like me. However, I noticed that decreased. But other friends, like, I basically no longer get invited to certain things.
I love that you just touched that point. We got to unpack that point. I love it, because I haven't talked about that here in the podcast. And that's something that I struggled about 3 weeks ago, 3 or a month ago. So I have these people that I know, and I really like them. I think they're amazing. And they do, I don't want to say what it is, because I don't want to put anybody else. I'm trying to watch my words. They do these outings, okay, that I really wanted to be part of. And now in my...
You wanted to be a part of them, or you want to continue? Is it something
No, I wanted to be part of, because I have never been.
Oh, okay.
So that's what gets interesting. But I've hung out with these people, and I have mentioned that the next outing that they will do, I would love to go. Right? And I put it out there, and that's not easy for me. I tend to be in my own life with my, with my partner, my kids. So I have a pretty busy life, but I want to go there. And I start seeing in social media, our friend, I see all these outings with all these people, and I never get that invitation. I'm sitting down here with you, and I haven't gotten that invitation. And this is where we have to be honest and talk about it, because it was brutal. I kind of rejected, and this is a me problem, not them. I'm not putting it on them whatsoever, but this is the work that you got to go through. It's like therapy. You got to go through it. So I was like, okay, Abigail, think about this. Do you blame them? If that will be you doing those outings, you will do the same thing. You're going to invite the people that you're going to drink with, because we know that you want other people to drink with. I was that person. I wanted people all the time. So I cannot be mad to the fact that I don't fit their profile. Not because they don't like me. They like me. But I am that friend to do something else. That outing activity that they do is very heavy influenced by drinking, if not all of it, to be honest. And I did it drinking, by the way, but it hurt my feelings. And I went through it, and that's when I said, you have to mourn your old self. Because I was like, I bet you, Melanie, if I was drinking,
That person reminds me of me when I used to drink. I can resemble, and I
Yes.
like it. I
It's a
like it
mirror.
because I think, I like it because the person is fun. They're fun, and I was like, you know what? You're missing your old self. I am missing the fact that I know that if that was my old self, I would have been invited a long time ago. I would have had the best of times. I was grieving myself, and that was okay. And I did grieve the situation for like 3 weeks. Then something happened. Somebody else invited me to the same thing, to do that same outing activity. And I have a horrendous experience. I call it the trip of hell.
Oh, wow.
It was that bad. And then I realized it was because of certain situation, nothing, specifically bad. Then I decided, you know what, Abby? It's okay. You're in a different era of your life. My boyfriend told me something so sweet. He's like, you are on the right side of the spectrum. Don't beat yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're doing the right thing. And I let it go. But you do have to deal with that.
You do.
Because you feel rejected. Even though they're not rejecting you. It's really not.
They're not. And if I want to put it to you in a different way, they're actually setting boundaries for you.
Yes.
They're respecting your boundaries.
Yes.
And that's what I have to tell myself. It's easy to tell yourself, well, now they don't think I'm going to be fun. I'm not getting invited. It's easy to play that narrative, but that's not true. They're just simply respecting your boundaries.
I like that. I like that because it's so true. They are. Even though I know that's not a struggle for me, they don't know that.
Yeah.
They think that maybe putting myself in that environment, that will be a trigger. See how you every thought you can reframe. And if we said that to ourselves, then you move on. Because I got mad. And I didn't want to be mad at them, but I'm not going to be blunt. And because this is about being honest. More than mad, I was hurt, but not to them. I got to that conclusion. I'm like, you know what? They're just, and that's okay. Then you make new friends. You know what? I have this sober community, which it's the best. You should try Reframe. It's amazing. I have friends for over a year and a half. They're in my life. We are on the squares because we are always in
either virtual.
Yeah, it's marketable. But I've seen them. I've seen them. One of them was here.
Yeah.
She's one. She lives in Montana, Gina. Then I have another one, Julia. She is in, oh my God, in Melbourne now.
Okay.
So I've seen some other ones from Virginia. Anyways, I have Canada, Australia. But they really are friends. Like, we talk about life. And I wish they were here. Come on, guys, move over here to Florida, Sunshine State, a lot of sun, vitamin D, Disney World, where magic happens.
Beaches, hello.
Beaches, yeah, boating.
Yeah.
So you do make new friends.
Yeah. And to be honest, that is, because it's still something that I will get better at. And I'm saying it publicly, guys. I will get better at. There's pros and cons, or good and bad, that we do in whatever journey we're in. For me, one thing I learned about my journey so far is that I isolated a lot. I didn't lean in to a community the way you're explaining that. I did that with my codependency journey. I shared with you, I did 90 meetings in 90 days. And that was brutal, but it was needed. That's how deep I was into my codependency. And again, look into it. It's a whole world that you're like, whoa, this is why I do things. This is why I control things. This is why I am such a girl boss the way I am. And it all comes down to codependency, and even how you want to be wanted and needed by certain people. Like, there's just so much into it, right? When I decided to take my sobriety to the next level, again, it all started with emotional sobriety. But when I started to link the patterns from the emotional sobriety to how much I was drinking and depending on alcohol, instead of leaning into that community, I stayed home. I remember the first month was brutal.
Yeah, that's not good.
It was brutal. I went, and I didn't go through the physical withdrawals. You know how people, when I've never experienced that. I don't know.
Yeah, you're not physical dependent. Like. A lot of people are
right.
not.
But the withdrawals on the outings and the shift of friends, everything happened at once. There were two really close friends of mine that we were inseparable, and not because of alcohol or anything, but and this is how I knew it was God shutting doors too. Overnight, both of them, we just stopped talking.
Like that? Just
overnight. Like, things happened, things came to light, and it was like, looking back now, I knew it was God shifting it all.
Yeah, the people that are not meant to be in your life.
That are meant to be, right. The people that you call it overstating our welcome. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know those seasons are over, but you don't know how to let go.
Yes.
Codependency, girl.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
And if there's one thing that I know that I did wrong, that if I could tell your listeners, please plug in to community, whether it's the reframe, is it reframe?
Reframe, yeah.
Reframe, AA is wonderful. There's a lot out there, but please plug into community.
I think without community, I would not be here. No, I think, I mean, my whole life evolved around drinking. So that was my escape. You're talking about meetings. I did a bunch of meetings. Reframe has meeting all day long, from the morning to the night.
That's how CODA is, the codependency.
CODA,
Yeah,
okay.
CODA.
So you have wake up for reframe. They go by topics. They have grieving and loss. They have for the loved ones. So for people that, like your family, let's say you have a spouse and your spouse doesn't understand you, they have one for them, and it's free. You don't have to pay for a membership for them. Then they have also 6 months plus, 1 year plus, the newcomers. And that community, people just really with arms wide open. They come, they listen to you, and people feel seen. And so many of us out there don't feel seen. Even in relationships, there's people that been married 40 years, they're not feeling seen. Or maybe your partner, it's a beautiful person and good, but they don't understand your struggle. You need community because we understand our struggle. We understand, and I identify just like you. I don't identify as an alcoholic myself. I don't. I was never physical dependent on it. I did have, if you guys want to know about that, go to my other episode with David. He was physical and dependent, but functional. Isn't that interesting? That he was able to drink to that extent every morning. He will wake up and drink even whiskey in the morning to go to work, and still worked and still did everything. But when he stopped drinking for 3 days, he ended up in the hospital, seeing things audible. He could hear, see, and feel.
Wow.
And they told him that if somebody drinks that much, you need to get medical attention because you can die. Your brain goes into this overload and you can have seizures and death. Isn't that crazy?
That is very scary. Alcohol has been in my family for generations. I've had family members pass away. I actually deal with somebody very close to me for privacy purposes. I won't share too much of this person's story, but I remember for years I would be angry. I would be angry at alcohol per se, right? And I would say, we gotta be careful what we say. I will never do this. I will never do that. I hate that this person does this. I hate that this person does. And if there's one thing that I noticed in the last year is that I became, just like I said, what I would never do.
Isn't that tough? When we judge?
The worst. But I also remember crying and saying, now I understand.
And that's humility. Sometimes we don't understand. And you can never pinpoint at somebody else. I would say when you pinpoint, you have 3 fingers towards you. 1, 3. But we just pay attention to this one. And it is, and I'm working on that. That's one thing that right now, not that I am a person to be gossip or anything like that, but it's on human nature. Sometimes people start talking about someone and you're just giving an opinion. And then the Bible says that we shouldn't do that. Sometimes we are meant to listen more than we talk. That's hard for me in the sense of not saying what I think.
Not sharing your opinion,
Well, you know what? Now I am. And sometimes the Holy Spirit lets me know, like, I think it could have been a little, you spoke a little bit too much.
Too much on that, yes.
And it's not something really bad, but you know what? Sometimes it's judgment. And I'm like, who am I to talk about? I don't know the person. I don't know their struggle. I haven't walked in their shoes. You don't know the abuse that I have endured. So we have to be careful with our tongues. All right. So what do you think has been the hardest thing in this almost 5 months, a sobriety journey that you have to work with or endure?
I think my social life, having to reframe that my social life, like, I'm still fun. I'm still the same person. If anything, even better, because I'm waking up sober. I'm sober-minded, right? I'm waking up sober-minded. I am still the same person. But the hardest part was to have to reframe that a lot. Like every single time, like not think that, well, am I going to be fun? Am I going to have fun? Oh my gosh. Like, are they going to like me? Do you know how much, again, all of this, it's brought up things in me that I had to figure out. First of all, obviously having to lay down the shame fear, guilt, all of that. But imposter syndrome,
Oh, yes. That's a big one.
that has been the hardest. I think when I say social life, I'm talking about the imposter syndrome. Thinking, are they going to like me?
It's like all insecurities.
It is.
They come out.
Insecurities, they come up.
Yeah.
That,
Because
I
remember,
think-
alcohol gives you this false feeling of I got it together. I am Wonder Woman. The world is with me and I'm against the world.
It's like a superpower. Or
You're all
you're
bad.
like,
Shame.
what did I do? The shame, guilt, you know? So many times, I think the worst things that till this day, I'm like having to backtrack my steps the next morning, look at my phone for conversations that I don't remember having. Oh boy.
Yeah, that sucks.
How does this person end up at my house?
Yeah, that
you know, like, did I invite him? Did he call me? Who called who? Checking phone. That is a terrible way to live.
Yes.
Quite honestly.
It's horrible.
And as a, and again, just being transparent, like as a Christian, you know, because one of the reasons why I was so ashamed about my relationship was because he wasn't a believer when I met him. Okay. He started going to church with me after some time or whatever, but when I met him, he wasn't a believer. I should have known better. I'm not here to missionary date. There's no such thing, right? Yeah. I felt like that's what I was doing. So I remember when we, there was a while we didn't have intimacy, whatever. At some point it happened. And I remember in the moment you're caught up, but the next morning you feel guilty. And here I am waking up, leaving the bed, going to the other side of the room, hungover and all, because I wasn't a drinker. We started drinking, and I never blame him for it. It just became part of our social life, but it also calmed my anxieties, because what most people didn't know at the time is that I was in this relationship. I was so ashamed and everything. I was trying to tame my demons. That's what alcohol was doing to me. Because I was living a life that I didn't want, but I didn't know how to get out of it. So alcohol tamed me. It calmed me. Yeah. Wow. And then when I would break up with him, alcohol tamed my emotions, so I wouldn't think about him. But then I got to the extent that I would get drunk, and then I would end up reaching out to him anyways. It was a crazy, vicious cycle.
And breaking cycles are hard. I heard somebody say, I broke up with alcohol. And I like that. I like that because it's true. It's like breaking up with someone. Like literally, it's like when you're breaking up with your best friend, the ones that hang out with you. Yeah. You're breaking up with your confidant. Yeah. Yeah. You're breaking up with the person that when you're sad makes you feel better. That's a hard breakup.
But it's funny you say that. I've never thought about it that way, but how much do I resonate with that right now? Because it wasn't until I broke up with alcohol that I really broke up with
him. Isn't that something?
Because I stopped reaching out, because I no longer had alcohol to push me there.
Cloud your judgment.
Yeah, exactly. And you literally said it earlier. There are two people in this world that would be the realest to us, right? Children and drunk people. So while I'm sober, I'm keeping all the feelings within. When I'm drinking, that's when you're going to know it all. And then it was like, I would call him, I would curse him out, I would tell him, I would cry, blah, 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 and then we'll end up making up. So then the next day when I'm sober, saying, I made a mistake, get out of here. And it was that cycle over.
Yeah. That's why we have inhibitions, and alcohol brings them down. But the thing is, God created inhibition so we can have, a control of our emotions. You cannot live a life of letting your emotions control you. You have to control your emotions. Now, there's a place to feel and, deal with the breakup, because I'm sure you have to still go through it. Yeah. And it's tough. Not only does it hard to go through, everything else come up.
But now I'm doing it sober-minded, right? Yeah. So I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. What alcohol is doing is suppressing all the emotions to then bring them back up in an ugly way. That's all alcohol did, at least for me. I don't understand the science behind that. I've never taken the time to really study the science behind that. I know these apps and other communities, teach you all of that. I've never gotten down to that. I could just tell you based on how I felt. And like what alcohol did for me, and just the toxic cycle that it would put me through.
The roller coaster of emotions. Do you think other stuff had come up too? Like, for example, like besides the situation, have you had to deal with any other issues that maybe they were not there, but the fact that you're not drinking anymore, are they resurface, or are you just dealing with?
I don't think they resurfaced. I think it was more like I couldn't I already knew they were there because I was in therapy for I'm still in therapy, but weekly, non-negotiable for 3 years. I recently started doing maintenance, which is once a month because, I graduated.
I like that.
Yeah, that's the way it feels. Especially after 3 years of, doing weekly therapy. But I think at some point I had to face certain things. So to give you a perfect example, and I know this was before I stopped drinking, but perfect example was when my therapist, when I decided to start codependency, anonymous, the what do you call it? The motivation was my grandson, legacy. Thinking I need to fix things because I want to be able to understand why I do what I do. I want to be able to teach my grandson different things. I don't want certain people in his life. I definitely didn't want this toxic relationship, to be a part of his life, just any of that. But my therapist was telling me to address this for a whole year. I just wasn't ready. Because if I had to address it, that means I had to let him go indefinitely, and I wasn't ready.
That hurts.
Do you see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So when it came to alcohol, what I had to deal with letting go of, when I let go of alcohol, the things that I had to really face head on was shame, fear. You know me. How did we meet in the church? How did we meet when I was a pastor's wife?
Yeah.
Right? A ministry leader, a director.
I remember.
Leading all of that. I had to finally almost mourn that life and say, God, can you still use me?
Wow. That's a deep question right there.
Can you really still use me? The woman that I was in ministry, in church, a youth ministry leader, all these young people used to look up to me, our marriage. So I think once I let go of alcohol, there was a season, and maybe it was, not maybe, I know it was that month that I was home also, not wanting to go and stuff like that. It was also an opportunity for me to really mourn that life that I'm no longer going back to. Now, I'm not saying I would no longer be ministry and stuff like that. I recently started serving at a church, and I know God is restoring me, but I had to let go of that life. God has something new.
Yes.
Whatever that is in the future. So it was the shame, the fear, and the guilt, and the imposter syndrome. Those are the 4 things that we're dealing with in this season.
And shame, I was talking to you about this. Shame lives in darkness, right? And the fact that you're doing this, you're kicking shame in the butt, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And to answer that question, yes, God can still use you because you know what? That's the point. That's His salvation, what it's about. And now you can actually go back to the same youth and come from a place of, I was there. Because let me tell you something, I really believe, especially when you're doing alcohol free. For me, if I'm going to be with a therapist, but you have never struggled with alcohol, you're not going to understand. We're not going to, I don't care what science, because the person that is sitting in front of me, but they go through alcohol issues, disorder, they will understand how hard it is.
Yeah.
So now your story, Pastor JJ says, he says, your mess is your story.
It's your message.
Kept that in my heart because I come from church my whole life. And you trying to, especially when your uncles are pastor, my dad did that. Like you come from this place of you have to be perfect. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
But we believe that we have to walk like if we're Jesus Christ. That's never gonna happen. And I really think that we go through this situation, first of all, because we chose it. Not that God sent it to you. Because people get mad at God. I'm like, but you're the one doing it. And then, but He can use that mess to become your message. Like I'm doing right now. My mess is my message now.
That's right.
And this is how the Sober and Wellness podcast came to life. So you can actually, I'm pretty sure you go back because you were, and it was a big church.
It was a big
with
church,
a big group of youth.
with a big, and we did so much, and I miss it till this day. Sometimes I think about it, and I even see these kids. They've grown up. Some of them have gotten married. They have kids.
Don't talk about it.
And I'm just like, but God has a plan.
But now you have another purpose that you're gonna get into. And then, but let me tell you something. In order to find your purpose, you have to find yourself. We are trying to find that purpose, but we try not to find ourselves. How can you find your purpose if you don't know yourself?
Yeah.
It's impossible. I feel like I'm walking the path that I was meant to be. I don't know how long I've been here, but right now in this season of my life,
You feel the most rooted?
yes, I am rooted. I feel like the Holy Spirit's backing me up because I'm trying to do something to help people to actually get, because these were my shackles. This was my struggle. Now, on top of this, there were the relationship, the codependency, all different aspects. But at the bottom of everything, the root of all evil in my life was alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah. For me was perfectionism. So perfectionism was actually what led me to be so codependent, because I had to be perfect in order for you to like me. This is something from childhood. It was performance.
And your self-worth comes from there.
Exactly. Performance.
Yeah, that's tough.
In order for me to get praise at home, I had to be good. The teachers, I had to be good, because I was an ADHD kid. I know that growing up, I didn't get those diagnoses.
They really had that back then,
right? Understanding everything now, right? Everything had to be good. You know, I was the kid where, you know, I remember my teachers would tell my mom, "Oh my gosh, she talks a lot. Oh my God, you guys have to speak to her. She's a distraction," and blah 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 blah. Well, you know what? It was part of my personality. You know, it was also part of the ADHD and stuff like that. So I would get in so much trouble at home, but it was so ingrained that I had to be good. I had to be perfect. I couldn't even use an eraser on paper. If I messed up a word, my mom would literally make me write it all over.
Oh
That's
my
how
God.
perfect I had to be at home. It's funny, we joke about that nowadays. I'm like, Mom, it's your fault that I'm the way I am. But, you know, it's just playing around with her. But it comes from all of that having to be good and perfect and having to walk this way, you know?
And that's exhausting.
And very, because I brought that into my marriage. I brought that into my parenting. I even brought that into the way I did ministry.
And that's, yeah, you ministry, you're putting it in your own hands.
Of man, and at the end of the day, it's you and God.
And that's a lesson right there. I think ministry sometimes can bring power, some sort of power, some place of you're above. And I don't think people do it on purpose. It's just part of the nature. I think that's why you always have to be rooted in the word, so God can always work in our humility. Because as human, I think it's so easy for us to feel in a certain way. But I'm looking forward to see what's going on. I've seen you do a lot of amazing things. So I'm excited that you're in this side of the court.
Yes.
I don't try to bring anybody though.
Yeah.
I just really want that my message, whoever resonates with, because I think this journey is whenever you're ready to change.
Yeah.
I can't. I will never go to
I
anybody.
told you I tried quitting like 8 times, and I would literally, I don't think I would get past any more than 4 days. It just wouldn't. But it was because of I don't know. I think it was more the social life that I was most afraid of. You know, I was afraid to get the rejection, and it happened anyway. So I was like, I should have just done it before, but it's fine. You know what? At the end of the day, I believe there's purpose. I believe God is going to use it. I believe that I'm going to continue to share my message, whether it's one person or your podcast or how, you know, it's going to happen.
We don't know.
And
you know what? Talking about that. So after that incident of the outing that I was talking about, I went to in this introspection of being okay with who I am now, right? Because I wasn't. I was like, man, but because now I'm not so interested in being surrounded by big groups, depend who they are. If there are people that I truly want to be with, hey, let's go for it. I have fun. But if I don't, the amount of energy that I have to use to feel, I don't want to do it. And I said, you know what, Abigail? It's okay to just want to have a life where I am focused in God first, my family, my businesses, which I have different because I put different hats. You know, real estate is my primary business. Now I'm doing my coaching business with podcasts, which it's a lot of work. It really is, because I want to send a message and I want to do it to the best of my abilities. I'm not perfect, so bear with me, guys. You know, we're learning, and I don't have time. But I did switch the whole party for doing all of this, and this gives me so much purpose. I am more fulfilled. I wake up happier, like I actually really am happier. I feel like I'm meant to do something, and that feeling, I will never trade that for any drink. And I know that the day that I go back to a bar, to anywhere that I take that drink, that is the swap I'm doing. So I will be switching this, who I am right now, what you guys see, for becoming again the Abigail that just drinks. Even if it's 1 or twice a month, That switch, it takes, oh my God, it takes so much away from me that I think that's the part that people don't understand. You don't need a rock bottom. You don't need to go to, and if that's your story, I always say it, it's okay. Some people have different rock bottoms.
Some people, and that's going to be me, we have many rock bottoms.
Yeah, we have a divorce.
Yeah, so a divorce is a rock bottom. Some people have to change careers because of, they just have to, whatever. Other people might be that they lose a loved ones. Like, there's plenty of rock bottoms. Other people might be, alcohol itself that takes something away from them. But there's a DUI or a job. I know people that have lost careers over their addiction.
Yes. I just know of a person that went to jail 3 weeks ago, 5 a.m. for battery or something like that. And the thing is, you know what? I'm pretty sure alcohol was involved. I don't know what are the data around it, but I know alcohol, it's in a lot of bad things. A lot of people do crazy crap when they're under the influence. But we are breaking that cycle. Aren't you excited?
I'm very excited. We're breaking the cycle. And a lot of people, actually, I told you about my daughter who asked me, we're going on this family vacation. I told you. And she's like, Mom, but are you going to be drinking by the time we go on vacation? I'm like, no, I'm not. And she's like, wait, but you have the drink package. And I'm like, I know, we all have to have it. It's a group thing. It's like 20 of us going. And I said, I didn't have a choice. I had to get it because we got some group rates. And to be honest, that conversation happened last week. That was the first time that I said that I'm not going to drink again. Because the first 3 months, when people would ask me, my best friend asked me right on the 90-day mark, because I text her saying 90 days with an emoji, just celebrating. And she said, are you not going to drink again? I couldn't say no. All I said was, I'm focusing on today. And that's what, honestly, the biggest message that I have for people right now. Me being on day 142, me being on, 4 months and 3 weeks. That's literally focus one day at a time.
That's it.
Yeah. Because if we think future, we get anxious.
Yeah.
For me personally, it might be some people, I know people that feel like they're going to fail a spouse that they made a promise to, whatever. For me, it's failing God. It's me knowing that I want to please God. Because I know this is obedience for me. Maybe not for somebody else.
For me too.
But
so I can relate to that.
For me, this is obedience. The surrender, it's more than just the to-do list. Even though if you know me, I'm a to-do. Listen, I'm a planner. I published a planner. I am a planner at heart. But this here, it's more than that. It truly is obedience to God.
I really like that you said that, because I resonate with that. I didn't put it into those words, but I have that now, because for me, this is obedient. The Lord was telling me a long time ago to leave alcohol.
Same.
That in order for me to fulfill my purpose, I needed to let that go.
Yeah. For me, it was alcohol and that relationship. And they were both very, very, very strongholds on my life.
But you're here.
But I'm here.
And that
free
means
from both.
That is
free from both.
Amazing. Amen. I love it. And you know what? It's not about perfection. I also don't like to say ever, because you never know.
And that's been, like I said, I was afraid to say never because I'm afraid that what if I fail? Not me, not my kids, not Mateo, my grandson, God. I don't want to fail God. He's been too good to me.
Yeah, I like that. I think his mercy, I always say, God, thank you for your mercy and your grace, because I don't know where I'm going to get to. But if I tell you that I want to drink again, that's a lie, because what I am swapping, it's not worth it. It's really swapping life for death.
Yes.
And I no longer want to be in that predicament. So for me, having people ask me, but can you have one? I'm not interested in one. And that's where honesty and knowing yourself is when it comes in. Because there's people that can moderate. Not everybody has to struggle with it. You can have one drink and they don't even finish it. That will piss me off. If I was in a place that it will be like a little, like why they don't drink it? They don't have a problem. But for me, one means that it's going to go down to, I don't know, 8 or 10.
Yeah.
and then where's that going to lead me? I've also done things that I'm not proud of when I was drinking. I think we all walk the walk of shame.
The walk of shame. Yeah.
And I don't want to walk that walk ever again.
I don't miss it.
So you do get a lot of good things when you don't do the walk of shame.
Yeah, that's
They glamorize it like Hangover, that movie. It's funny. I love hangovers.
Yeah.
Especially at the end when they go and they see the picture and they start doing like that. You're laughing. But if you think about everything that happens there will happen to us. You lose a tooth. Then you have a tattoo in your face. And the
place is trash, right? I'm trying to remember the place. Yeah, the place is trash. You're like, what just happened? Like I said, for me, it was so many nights of looking at my phone and looking at backtracking my steps from my room to like, my purse is there, my shoes over there. Like it's like, no, like I don't want to wake up fog anymore. I want to wake up sober minded. And yeah,
it's a good thing. So we're coming to an end of this episode. So I always ask everyone, what is your one advice or key takeaway that has empowered you to stay in this journey for anybody that is curious or doing it or struggling?
I think this would be for the ones struggling, for everybody, but specifically the ones struggling, because that's where I found myself, especially in the first month. Plan your day the day before. Especially if you're struggling with your social life, with having to, hopefully you don't have to get new friends or anything like that, but maybe some people are having a hard time trying to figure out how do you fit into their world now, because your world is changing. Plan your day the night before. Figure out what socially you're going to do the next day. Don't stay home if you live by yourself, or, just don't stay home, because staying home triggers. It triggers thoughts, and pity party starts. And more often than not, and I know a lot of people end up in a bar, and they do end up drinking because they're thinking a lot. And that was an advice that was given to me by somebody that actually was in AA for a long time. And I had to start doing that. Just plan the day before and reach out to people. Just don't be alone if you struggle with being alone.
I like that.
That was definitely
that is important. Community. Connection is the opposite of addiction.
Yeah. And have hobbies, like, again, plan the day before and plan something fun. Plan something you're looking forward to.
Yeah. Or start a business. Hey, that actually
make some money.
Do sometimes all that time, if you think about how much time we spent drinking, it's a lot of hours. If you take that and you put it into something that you want to create, you can have a 6-figure business within a year. And I'm not kidding. So start a hobby, start a business, a side hustle. I'm not saying go quit your job and do something. I mean, if you do want to, go for it.
Of course,
not that drastic. You can start little by little, because now the one thing, instead of saying, oh, I don't have nothing to do, now you have time to do things that actually mean something to you, that can create wealth, a future, a legacy. We're here for such a short time, that if in that little short time we're going to be like zombies, drunk, not knowing what we're doing, you really are wasting your valuable time.
And that's where I'm at. I finally had the courage, literally 3 weeks ago, to relaunch my coaching business. And for me, it was like, okay, maybe I'm not ready to coach people just yet. However, I'm going to share the experience. So I've journaled for the last 8 years. Since my divorce, I started journaling, and God has given me so much learning experiences and wisdom, and I'm turning them into a newsletter, and it's just going out every Friday, giving women hope.
I love
so for now, that's my first step. I'm sure God has something bigger coming. However, that is my first step.
Yes.
And that's what you have to do. Just invest it into a passion project. And that's where I'm at right now.
Well, Melanie, thank you so much for being here. This was a great episode with her. So I'm really, my heart is full because you're a friend. And even though everybody else I consider a friend, but this is a person that I knew before, that she knows my past. She saw me in my drinking behavior and all of the craziness.
And you saw me before I was in this journey of drinking and stuff. So imagine that, and it's like, but I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for allowing me to share with your community on just where it's like to be here in these 5 months.
Thank you. And to you guys, again, for those of you that are listening and are supporting this podcast, thank you so much. It really means the world to me. And like I always say, if you're a person that is just struggling, or you're a person that is interested, or you're just curious, we call that sober curious. How about you want to start a new life, a new business, a new hobby, whatever it is, but you feel like alcohol is hindering your future, listen, don't hesitate. Send me an email. We can definitely do a one-on-one discovery call. It is free. So we just see if I be a good fit and we go from there, because in that decision could be your bright future. Once again, thank you guys for listening, and till next episode.